directors, our staff, our community partners, our supply chain partners, and most importantly, I want to thank our staff. I shared with Madam Vice President and Congressman Horsford and the entire group that the folks that you see in front of you have been on the ground in person for nearly 365 days providing emergency food assistance for members and Clark County residents all across the valley. And so it is through their tireless efforts that they've been able to distribute almost 13 million pounds of food, just under 40 million pounds, 40 million meals to families all across the valley, totaling just over 500,000 meals. And so they've been out in the rain and the warm weather and, oh, by the way, snow on a couple of occasions, making sure that families did not have to have the question go unanswered as to whether they're going to be able to provide food for their loved ones. And I know we have a number of things to talk about here today, and the numbers I just mentioned, they're just numbers. But what you should know, overwhelming amount of people that come to our food assistance lines are women. Most of them are leading families of at least 4. And so the level of pain and financial anxiety is real, right? It is almost palpable to the point where we are working tirelessly to find ways to do more so that people don't have to continue to fret over whether or not they're going to have the resources to provide for their basic needs. But I can tell you in Washington, D.C., we have a voice. There is someone who knows like no other of the pain that families and workers have during these times. He comes from a community where when a pandemic, a public health crisis hits, it hits hard and it hits fast. This person is from the community that we are gathered in here today. He knows that insecurities around food, around child care, around housing, around transportation, around healthcare run deep. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce someone to you that I have deep and profound respect for. Someone skilled and effective in every way, Congressman Stephen Horsford.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. First of all, let me say thank you for all of your tremendous work, Dr. Scott, and the team at the Culinary Academy of Las Vegas. This is the place that made me. I had the opportunity to lead the Culinary Academy before I went to Congress. But the work that you have been doing, and I've heard directly from my constituents and people throughout the entire valley, they are so grateful for you. And I just want to commend you, and I want to thank the Vice President for being here to be able to see this work and all the impact, the positive impact that you are making in this community. You know, we've been working because the President Biden and Vice President Harris proposed this American Rescue Plan. And this rescue plan finally puts people and workers first. It does it by providing real results and real benefits that we need in our communities, including the $1,400 direct cash payment, including the resources to help lift a half of children out of poverty through the child tax credit, a provision that I worked on to extend the unemployment benefits to September at the $300 a week level, because I know so many of my constituents here are struggling to make ends meet, and it's a health insurance benefit to be a bridge until you return back to work. And the benefits that your union leadership pushed to include with the leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris to have 100% COBRA benefits to protect your health care. These are just a few of the key provisions in this bill, including more than $4.1 billion to the state and local governments to make sure we keep these essential services in place and no one else on the unemployment line. And more than $1 billion to the school districts throughout Nevada, $883 million right here for the Clark County School District to help children as they return to in-person learning, something we want for everybody. But you know what? It's guided by the principles of you, Madam Vice President, and our new president, Mr. Joe Biden. And I remember you saying something so profound, which is, we need to fight for the things we really care for. And there's no one who knows better how to fight and to work for things than labor and all of you. And so I'm proud because you all have given me that opportunity to serve as your representative, but I will never forget where I've come from, what I'm fighting for, or who I'm fighting for. And we are going to crush this virus with the help of the American Rescue Plan, and we are going to build back better. And it's with Vice President Harris, who I am so proud to say, welcome back to Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and to the Culinary Academy. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Congressman, Dr. Scott, thank you. And to all the volunteers, thank you all. And the culinary workers and Dee and Gio. And listen, I was raised to understand that if you live the value of love thy neighbor, you understand the distinction between charity and duty. Charity, I'll give you a little if I've got a little extra. Look at how wonderful I am. I'm so benevolent. Duty. It is the business of each of us. We have a duty to help each other out, especially in times of need. It is our responsibility when people are suffering, when people are hungry. You help people out, and you do it understanding the dignity of each person and your fellow human being. And that's what this is about. That's what you all are doing here. That's what we were doing with the American Rescue Plan, about understanding that right now in our country, people are suffering. People have been unemployed for over a year through no fault of their own. Our babies are hungry. In Nevada alone, 1 in 7 households are describing hunger in their household. In Nevada alone, 1 in 5 households is describing an inability or a difficulty to pay rent. In Nevada alone, 1 in 4 small businesses is out of business. So President Biden, you'll remember a while back, he said, help is on the way. And then he signed that American Rescue Plan, so I would say, help is here. Help is here. Help is here. And as the congressman said, there are a number of things that it does. And so I'm here to also make sure we get the word out so folks know what they are entitled to receive, and also by extension, they remember this is supposed to be the job of your government, which is when you're suffering, when you need a helping hand, when you need a little assistance to just get over a moment of crisis you didn't create. That's when leaders are supposed to kick in to say, I'm here, I see you, and I will help you. So it's the $1,400 direct payment. It's the extension of unemployment benefits. That child tax credit, Dee says people don't understand what that means. But I'm going to try to explain to you. It basically means if you have children and you don't normally pay taxes at a high level, so you get the tax credit, but you pay at a lower level, so you may not get the money back because you haven't paid the tax on it, you still get that assistance because everybody should get the equal amount. It's about saying, about equity. And you know what equity is about? You know, I come from parents who fought for civil rights, right? And the fight was for equality. The point about equity is to understand also, not everybody starts out on the same base. Some people start out on first base, some people start out on third base. The point of equality, the spirit behind it, is we should all kind of end up in the same place, have an equal opportunity to compete, an equal opportunity to prosper. So equity says, let's take into account, not everybody starts out on the same base. That's what is part of the spirit behind the American Rescue Plan. It's saying that children should not live in poverty in America. And so it will lift half of America's children out of poverty. Here in Nevada, that'll be an estimated 40,000 children lifted out of poverty. So these are the things we are doing. But the importance of also looking at things like COBRA is understanding workers. I've been talking with workers in the Culinary Union who, in cases, worked 30 years where they worked, 20 years where they worked, 15 years where they worked, and they're now out of work. And so health benefits, right? Culinary workers in particular have been national leaders in fighting for workers' rights around health care. So we're going to extend COBRA benefits so that you don't have to come out of your pocket to pay what your employer was paying for health care when you're out of a job through no fault of your own. These are some of the things that we are doing with the American Rescue Plan. But I'm going to end with a story that I heard from Dr. Scott that really, I think, makes such a point about the human spirit in times of crisis. And it makes such an important point about the dignity that each one of us has and that we should respect in each other. And so he told me about how here you've been packing up the bags so that people can drive up. And because COVID, there's no direct interaction, and folks pop open their trunk. And how the volunteers here, when they go to take the bags to put in the trunk of the car, they look down and there are handwritten notes from the family who was the occupant of the car, thanking you for the extension of humanity, the extension of dignity. He told me about sometimes the volunteers will pop open the trunk, or the trunk will open, and they look down, and there's a $5 bill as a tip to the volunteers from people who are barely making it all work, who have nothing extra to give, and are tipping the volunteers out of respect for the dignity of your work. I think in moments of crisis, it presents a real measure of each of us and what we are prepared to do. And I will say, I was at UNLV earlier, and I met with all the healthcare workers there. I'm here with all these volunteers. You are the heroes of this moment. This crisis has been a measure of character and of who the heroes that history will tell kept it all going and gave people the dignity they deserve. So on behalf of President Biden and myself and our country, I'm here to thank all of you for all you do and have been doing. Thank you. And so let's walk around so I can see what's happening. Can we do that?
Sure. So, Madam Vice President.